Hello again, Kat Rambo here with some more excitement from the life of a medicine woman. Today I want to talk to you about a visionary medicine called Kambo or Sapo. It has become more popular in the Western world, so I thought it would be a nice time to share such a thing. First, I want to give you the story of how it came to the people. It is from the Amazon. And then maybe some modern Western approach with some science about why it does what it does. And then we'll move to the experience of it and why people decide to take it in the first place. And then, of course, I have for you something very exciting, which is an interview with someone, a dear friend of mine, with whom I have just provided a Kambo experience and her take on it so that you have some information that's not just my perspective. So let's get started. So first, what is Kambo or Sapo? Kambo is frog poison. Isn't that fun? So the Kambo is the medicine that comes from the sides of a frog called the Philomedusa bicolor. This is a frog that lives in the Amazon, the giant leaf frog, and it produces or secretes a toxin down inside. If you look on the picture, you'll see the yellow part, and that's the belly that it comes from. So the indigenous go into the jungle. It lives sort of near rivers and other wet areas, of course, being a frog. And they call to the frog. He makes a certain sound, and the frog will come, or the indigenous will hear the sound, and they'll go to the frog. And some people speak to the frog, and the frog will make its secretions, and they pray for the frog, and they'll take a little bamboo stick like this, and they'll scoop it off the sides of the frog, and scoop up the poison, and it will dry out in the sun. Some people will take the frog and they'll tie up his limbs, and so he'll get nervous and he'll produce his toxin, and that's how they get it from them. And then sometimes people will actually take the frog, string him out, and hold him over a fire so he panics and produces the poison. It's always important to know where your medicines are coming from, depending on what your morality is with frog abuse. But generally speaking, it's considered a sacred animal, and it's important not to harm the frog during this process. The frog is then released, totally unmaimed. What we actually do with this crunchy frog poison, I will cover in a little bit later section about the actual ritual itself. But first, a story. So the Amazonian tradition holds that a great illness fell upon the people, and the great healer, Kambo, was unable to help. He turned to all of his herbs and all of his spirit traditions, and he was unable to find a solution, and his people were sick and they were dying, and he was praying for help. So he drank ayahuasca, another visionary medicine, and prayed and went into the jungle, and it came to him very clearly what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to go and sing to this frog and take this poison from the frog and give it to the people. So the method came to him in this vision, and that's the story. So he went back to the people and gave them this medicine, and their illness was cured. So it is now used as a cure, but also as a ritual for other purposes. For example, it's often consumed in the morning when before hunters go out. So they'll take it and they'll go through this ritual process, which doesn't last very long, and then they'll go out for their hunt feeling extra sharp and extra connected to their environment and have extra clear vision. And so it's considered good for that too, as well as curing illnesses. The tradition also holds that when this great healer, Kambo, passed away, his spirit went to go be with the frogs, so that when using this type of remedy, that his medicine is also part of the teaching of this process. So next, a little perspective from the modern Western world. Kambo is not highly documented. However, there has been some research done because of the promising effects of some of the ingredients, and some of the effects. So Kambo is known to contain many peptides, which is a type of protein, which have various effects on the body. It is known to increase immune response. It's known to be a phenomenal detoxifier for the lymphatic system, as well as for the bile, which contain a lot of toxins excreted by the liver, normally reabsorbed into the body at most, but during this process are ejected. So it allows for secretions to occur to replenish old toxic bile and other types of phlegms in the body. So it's considered good for the fluids. It's also wise to be aware that some people should not take Kambo for this reason. If you're dealing with immune issues where you don't want to elevate your immune system, such as someone who has had an organ transplant and is immunocompromised or is chemically suppressed, or is someone who's dealing with autoimmune issues and their immune system is already attacking their body. Some people find phenomenal benefit from this. I highly, highly, highly recommend if someone with one of these conditions wants to try this, taking a very small dose, being under the guidance of a well-experienced practitioner and potentially under doctor's guidance as well. It's always advised when you're doing something to your body and you don't know what's going to happen. Also, people who have issues with liver and stomach, and traditionally it's recommended. However, someone who has issues with their secretions may want to potentially look at another alternative. Someone who also has issues with reflux or a big problem with vomiting should probably not do this. What else? Some people also say that it's really good for thyroid problems, specifically thyroid tumors. There is some scientific evidence that it does have tumor inhibitive properties, so may reduce tumor size or inhibit the growth of tumors. Research is being done into this, and because of the anti-inflammatory benefit, there's also some research into how it could be effective for cardiovascular patients because of the low degree of side effect of the specific peptides and ingredients that are effective for this type of issue. Why would someone want to take Kambo? So there are a lot of different reasons. Some of them are purely physical. For example, someone with a thyroid condition may want to take it to help improve their thyroid health. Someone with tumors may be recommended to take it to help reduce the tumors, especially if modern Western approach isn't helping. Someone may be more interested in it for the spiritual detoxification and energy cleansing element. It's a very emotional experience. Purgative is a purgative, and when you're taking a spirit medicine, you're going to be releasing a lot, which is why the integration process is so essential. We'll talk about that later too. So let's get to what's the actual process. Cat. Come here, Minu. Come here. Come here. Don't hit my laptop. Oh, hello. Say hi. So I know you're asking, that's great, Kat, but what's it like? So let's get to the actual experience part. So first, you consume a lot of water. We're talking to 2 liters to a gallon of water. If you feel like you're going to vomit from water, then you're doing it right. If you don't consume enough water, then you start getting cramps and the experience can be horrible. You want to make sure that you drink enough water to absorb what's going to be drawing into your stomach so that the water can eject whatever it is that is in there that doesn't need to be in there, especially the biles. And you really, 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 really want to make sure you have enough water. So especially during the process too, you want to continue to sip as much water as possible, even though it may feel impossible at times. So you want to take down this water like within minutes. You don't want to sip on this for a couple hours. You want to drink all of this water immediately and get it as much in there as possible. It's going to be uncomfortable. Some people say this is the worst part of the experience. I tend to agree. So then, when you've consumed more water than you think you ever thought you could, you take your stick, which has your frog poison on it, and some people say you spit on it because then it activates your natural body with the Kambo, so it makes it like a custom healing for you. Some people use drops of water. And you mix it up, and it gets sort of like, you scrape it with a little knife, and it gets like a jelly, like a paste, and that's what you're looking for. So then you take a piece of incense, and you light it, and you burn your skin with it. So you don't want to consume this per orum. You want to burn your skin slightly so it gets into your lymph system, okay? So when it goes into your lymph system, you put the little slime that you've created onto your spot. Here's one for you. And it goes direct into your lymph system, and you will notice it right away. This is not one of those experiences where you have to wonder, is it working? Because you'll know. You'll immediately start to feel flush. You'll get hot. You'll feel like you're getting a temperature. You are. Your body temperature is rising. This is considered antibacterial and antiviral and does all the things for your body that an awesome fever does. Helps burn off a lot of types of illnesses. And You will hear your heart pounding in your ears. You feel your face get hot. It's like being in a sauna for too long, and it happens so fast. And some people will begin experiencing visionary state at this point. Most people don't. Some people do. You may start to see colors or lights. Your face may start to swell. This is called frog face, considered very beautiful by practitioners, considered really uncomfortable by participants. Sometimes your lips feel like they're going to burst and your whole face is swelling. This is normal, part of the process. Usually goes away pretty quickly. This is the lymph filling up in your face, and you will feel a lot of pressure. Some people like the heat and the pressure they feel in their head. Some people don't. I think the first time you experience it is very uncomfortable, especially in the Western world. We tend to avoid pain and discomfort. This experience is not necessarily physically very comfortable, but does create a lot of joy. So we'll get to the after effect. Then what happens is you start to experience this undeniable need to puke. Some people use the bathroom, some people don't, but you will almost always wish to vomit, and this is the point. This is not the side effect, this is the main intention. So the biles and the other liver secretions and everything going on inside your intestinal system will start drawing into that water in your stomach, and you'll puke up the water. As much as we hate to vomit, this is a surprisingly joyful process. The water will come up. You may notice colors, strange colors, green and yellow and black and other kinds of weird stuff, foam, but fortunately the volume of water that you've consumed makes that process surprisingly comfortable considering what's going on for you. Obviously, this should be consumed on an empty stomach, so usually it's done right in the morning. If you're doing it later in the day, be fasting, because you don't want to be puking up something you ate. That's not what this process is for. So after you vomit, you will feel strange and puffy and weird. Some people will now experience visionary state. Sometimes people pass out. Most practitioners will dump water on top of you. It is shocking and intense and feels amazing anyway. And for the next 15 minutes, you're going to feel something. You're going to meditate here. This is where you pray and you meditate and you're just full of gratitude and you appreciate the cleansing. Some people experience a feeling of emotional release. Lots of tears can happen. This is great. Sometimes people laugh. That's wonderful too. I experienced a sensation, a very corporeal, like physical sensation of waves of energy leaving my body. It's tremendous energetic healing. Everyone's experience is a little different. Every time you do it, it's going to be a little bit different. Some people choose to do it for themselves. I highly recommend going with a practitioner who knows what they're doing. Especially if you have medical concerns, you should consult your doctor and your practitioner also, to make sure that you're actually a good candidate for this type of practice. Some people do it once and then they're happy and then that's it, and then they're done with that. And some people will choose to do it every week. And this is considered pretty rigorous therapy. But depending on what it is your purpose, then it may make sense for you. So once you're done vomiting and you're done with your about 15 minutes, 20 minutes of meditation, you'll start to come back to the real world, Practitioners and shamans will sing for you their songs of healing. They will do smoke baths for you. There will be other energy alignment healing practices done at this time. After your margin, you'll start to come back to the real world. There may be more cleansing going on at this time. Palo Santo is good for moving stuck illness, so it's a wonderful addition to this practice. You want to be cleansed going into this practice. Some practitioners use sage. There's also always mapacho in these types of events. A lot of practitioners use that, which is a sacred tobacco that helps move stuck energy and is cleansing and sealing and grounding. So that's a good time for that too. And then after that, for the next few hours, you're going to feel awesome. You may originally feel sleepy. Take a nap, or don't. But for the next several hours for the rest of the day, you're going to feel fantastic. You may still be puffy in the face. That's okay. That's normal. You may not. Everyone experiences different, and sometimes I take it and I have a frog face for a day or 2 or 3, and sometimes I take it and then 2 hours later I massage the lymph out of my face and I look exactly like I did the day before, just much more peaceful. So if you have any questions about what this process is like, what the point is, why you might want to do it, why would someone go through such horrors to feel better in some way that maybe they could feel better another way, reach out and ask questions. And not just of me, find a practitioner, ask them questions. Everyone has their own perspective on it. And this type of healing can be very powerful and very transformative. But lastly, the most important thing I want to touch on is the integration process. During any intense transformative event, no matter how emotionally powerful it is, change occurs in small pieces. So over time, those small pieces are going to collate and shuffle and adjust for you. That'll be in your mind, it'll be in your emotions, it'll be in the way you behave and what you're compelled towards and what you like and what you don't like. And as you adjust to that, especially the feelings of emptiness, depending on what you purge, then you it may be wise to have someone that you know you can speak with this process about. Most practitioners will offer some kind of integration service, either phone calls or video calls or visiting to help you go through what you're going to go through. Some people say their integration process lasts a year, depending on what's going on. Some people say that in the next day they were over it and they were fine. Ultimately it's going to be up to you. You get to be responsible for what your intention is going into this experience, for what it is that you want to get out of it, and for what it is that you do with that experience after. If you do 10,000 ceremonies of any variety and you don't change your life, then was it worth really anything? You had an amazing experience, but what did it really gift you with in your way of living? If you have one tremendous experience and you move through your life totally renewed and reborn, then that was powerful. So you choose that, and you take full responsibility personally for what it is that you want to get out of that practice. Some people only do it for the physical benefit, and some people only do it for the spiritual benefit. Ultimately, it's going to be up to you what it is that you want to get out of it. So the integration process can be rocky for some people, especially if someone goes into it for an emotional healing. They may find that now they have purged their attachment to whatever it is that was plaguing them previously. What comes of that? What do you do now with this emptiness? How do you be, in your life? And it's helpful to have someone to help you navigate that process, especially because emotions can be confusing and you may not directly understand what it is you're actually experiencing. We often tend to apply emotions to the external world, not realizing that they're not really from there. They're just expressing themselves there. So for example, we all know that one time when we got really mad at somebody and we realized later, like, we weren't really mad at that person, we were just mad in general. So this is part of that process. It's good to have someone who understands what that process looks like with this specific type of medicine to help you navigate that evolution that is totally available for you after such an experience. So as a special treat, as promised, I'm going to show you the brief interview I did with Cathys, day 2 after her Kambo experience. And her integration process the first time she did it was really intense, and it was a low dose, but she went into it with a powerful intention and came out of it powerfully ready to evolve and truly healed so much in herself and her life. And I'm so proud of her, and I'm so happy to be able to share this with her. I'm so grateful. It's so huge. Every time I work with someone and they experience something tremendous, I heal too. There is no one outside of us that's really separate from us. And every time I have the enormous honor and pleasure of working with someone who makes a profound transformation in their life, I'm there with that personally. So this experience was a higher dose of the medicine, but with more understanding of what she could get out of it. The intention was a little bit different, and I fully anticipate this integration process to be a little different. So let's talk to her and see what it is that she thinks about the experience.
Nice.
Hello again. Here we have Cathys to talk about her Kambo experience. So this is the second time we've done Kambo. It was yesterday.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about what that experience is like going into and why someone would even want to do such a thing. So why did you choose to take Kambo the first time and maybe the second time also?
So initially the first time was for self-awareness and just being able to be closer to myself compassion-wise, because I felt like I missed a big portion of that in my life. So being more self-aware of the things that I needed in order to make myself a little more whole. So going into that, I did a lot of meditation in regards to, compassion. And then beforehand, we did some exercises with meditation and breathing exercises, just to kind of set the scene, set the mood.
Yes.
So we did that, and the process itself was interesting. I'd never experienced any type of plant medicine before, so just understanding how each part is, so important to the entire process was something that I had to really to gather. The coaching and the guiding you went through was really awesome. Of the being able to drink water and understand that the water is flowing through you, and it will help you later on as it's coming up.
Right.
So and didn't realize how effective that was going to be. I was very nervous the first time, seeing as purging is not the funnest thing in the world. But the more water I drank, the better I felt in the end. So that was definitely a good lesson, and being able to to just sit there and pray the entire time that I was feeling this, heat arising from the moment that you put the Kambo in my arm. It was, it was over. So it was just prayers, just being so thankful for the opportunity, to be a part of that, medicine, and what it was able to do to me. So it was quite fascinating. The portion afterwards, the integration part, was a little bit difficult for me. But it was all good stuff. It was things that I needed, that I had definitely had blockages from. And the more that I felt like I meditated, or I reached out to you and, was like, oh my God, help me, like I'm dying today. The better I felt, because it was very much just about perspective, and the more that you were able to kind of put it into place as to what it was that I was feeling, and not overthinking, which is a big time issue for me.
For us all, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So being able to put that into perspective, and, learn to calm your mind, and silence those thoughts, and just kind of allow them to be there, be happy and, present with them at the moment, and then let them go. I feel like it made the integration process so much smoother. So I'm
glad.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that this time around it's the same. This time I was going into this with the intention of clarity, looking for a little bit more of what it is that the universe is having to offer. There's so much unknown going on right now in the world. So just having a small, little hint as to what it is that I need to be doing, what my purpose is, moving forward, was what I was really seeking. So going into the medicine this time, it was a little different. I was a lot less scared, and so much more grateful for it, because I knew what to expect. And I drink a lot more water, so
always good advice.
Yeah, so it was a lot easier to go through this time, and it went by very quickly. I feel like you do a lot of good prepping work to get the person ready, because you never know what they're going to feel. But this time it didn't hit me as hard, even though there was more. So, and I think it was because I kind of tried to mentally prepare myself for it. So so that was nice. And moving forward, I did have a little bit of overthinking last night. It's been a little difficult to sleep, but other than that, I feel like I feel renewed. It's nice. It's
awesome.
I feel like everything has kind of been falling into place, like all the puzzle pieces are coming together really quickly for me now. So
good. That's such a blessing. Hey.
Yes. So
Would you mind to touch a little bit on the physical experience?
So so essentially it is at first, of course, nerves. So but once you put the medicine on, you automatically just start feeling this heat arise, and it comes from from your feet all the way up to your head. And the first time it had a little more intense. It was more in my ears, and it just feels like a fever coming on, like a really intense fever, which it follows with the deep breathing and a rapid heartbeat. So I was like, oh, okay, well, this is fun. But the moment that it starts to get a little too much, your body knows what to do, so you just start purging, and like I said, having more water really helped with that, because that was my fear. I hate that dry heave, that tension in your stomach, and tightness, and you're wanting it to be over. But it wasn't like this, because I had enough water to be able to push it through, where I felt like I was being cleansed from the inside out. So yeah.
What do you think is the most important thing that you've learned from these experiences? Where has your life changed for you?
I would say my life has changed dramatically in the sense of the way that I perceive the things that are happening to me. Instead of, trying to overthink them and get upset about the things that I can't understand, I'm able to put it into perspective as to how it is that it applies to my life in the current moment, and like a reflection of other people when I have instances with other individuals, and I get so caught up on what they said or what they did or things like that, and I realize that it's very much about perspective. So I feel like my eyes have opened to that intention in my life, is being more aware of my surroundings and what it is, how it applies to me versus everyone else. So
awesome. Thank you for sharing. Maybe one more question.
Sure.
What do you feel was the most important part of living through what you learned in your life, because it's easy enough to learn something, to have a tremendous experience, and then the real trick, the real medicine is in learning how to live through that in your life, to live that new knowledge and that new message, because no good is something that you know but then can't apply in your life, right? So what is it, is there some advice you could give that would help with that integration process and living through that new message?
I would say definitely keep close to your shaman, to the person that, like, I know it sounds like a little funny because not everybody has someone that's they can reach out to like that so often, but I feel like that's the biggest thing, because it's very much about, like I said, getting another perspective, getting another view at what it is that you're going through during that process, because you're so well versed on what it is that can happen after that, that it's like it makes things so much easier. And then I feel like very much getting into a very a routine meditation practice is the biggest thing. That was my biggest go-to. Without meditation, I would have been circling in my head all day for hours on end. So I think that's kind of what I got out of the first Kambo session was, really solidifying that practice and making it something that I did daily, once, twice, 3 times if I felt like I was, really needing it. So,
Well, that's important to ritualize your changes, right? So to say, I want to change, but then, okay, how do I change? But then to make a decision to do something different, to retrain your mind on your perspectives,
Yeah.
right? And how you see the world. And your entire life can be different, and nothing has to change, only you do. And then your life will consequently follow and change also.
Absolutely.
So what is something that meditation practice, such a phenomenal experience, always recommended, and there's a reason Fortune 500 companies now has mindfulness practices inside their corporate structure. It just works, okay? So high achievers do it, ancient monks do it, let's all do it, But meditation can be so simple as just sitting still for just a few minutes and just listening to your breath. Meditation can be a complicated visualization process. There are all kinds of ways to have a good meditation. What's something that you want to do with yourself, and maybe a habit or something, a new ritual that you want to add in your life, or maybe something you want to take out of your life after this second experience? Because your first integration period was rough.
Yes.
You spent a few weeks feeling like hell.
Yeah.
And the emotional roller coaster is real sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's evidence of a huge transition occurring. The change may feel like a roller coaster, but that's because you're growing out of something. And then that emptiness happens of not knowing who to be or how to be after that. But once you add back into your life what it is that you do want to be, then that gives you an opportunity to actually transform rather than just change something about yourself or your life. So what is it that you want to do? Have you thought about that yet? For this next rebirth of your life?
So I think my biggest thing is going to be trusting the process. Being very more, I guess, just having more trust in myself and my ability to understand that, like, I know what it is that I need in my life. And instead of, relying so much on you this time, I'll try to do it on my own, because I feel like I know what it is you're going to say when I call you, and you always tell me, you're like, what's the answer? Because you know it, so it's more just trusting that I am one with myself and can find those answers within myself. And I think that's the biggest thing now.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, you know what the process looks like. You know what introspection process looks like. You know what identity crises we're struggling with in our modern world, and I'm so grateful to be able to share that with you. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Is there anything else you would like to say, either about your experience that you'd like to share, or for someone who may be watching this, who may be considering Kambo, or who may be going through the integration process and not knowing how to cope? Is there any advices you would have?
I would say definitely do your research. Research is so important. Research the people it is that you want to be in your space during that time. When you're actually going through a Kambo experience, somebody who, the shaman that you're going to be using, the medicine woman, the, practitioner, whoever it is that you choose, make sure that you have really researched them. You've looked into their background, and, you kind of personally know them, because I feel like that's so important for you to be able to have somebody that you can trust, that is going to really use the medicine for what it's for. To help you in your future. And then moving forward, definitely the integration process is probably the most important part of the whole thing. So being able to, still reach out to that same person who should want to be there for you, should want to help you through that process, definitely utilize them. They're your tool. because until you're able to get through it on your own, it's going to be really difficult. But it's so life-changing, and it's so worth it. So definitely give it a try. And if you're going to, definitely do your research first.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
The trick, I think, is to realize that especially once we've had such an experience, but even without such a thing, that you are that medicine. You are already that part of yourself that is connected to tremendous clarity, to transcendent experiences, to that phenomenal love and connection and oneness that we get to experience in settings like this and in experiences like this. And especially once you've already experienced it, it's always with you. You can't unknow what you have already seen. So that's the trick, I think, here is to remember that the integration process is becoming that medicine in your life. And what is it that you really want to see and receive and experience? Because that will tell you what it is that you need to become in order to have that flow through you in your life. And is there anything else that you think would be constructive for that integration process? Because that is so crucial. The experience is awesome, but then the integration process is how it turns into your living.
Yeah. I think it's definitely stepping into whatever your intention is. Moving forward from, I've already set this intention, this is what I want to do, now take the steps to make it happen. Because if you're just saying it and you're not living it, then it's almost as if you wasted that experience, which of course is never wasted, but, it's all about, moving forward in that, living it, speaking it, breathing it. So just making it whole.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your experiences. These experiences are very personal, very private, and very specific. So it's a big deal to feel empowered enough to be able to share such a thing, especially on such a platform. So thank you again for sharing with me and for sharing with the world. And I look forward to seeing how this process goes for you and what it is that blossoms in your life for you.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. I feel so grateful. Thank you, Cathie, for sharing that. It's such a personal experience, and it takes a lot of cojones to become very vulnerable and be open with that. And on that same vein, she actually advised that I follow through with that as well and share with you my first visionary experience on Kambo. Not a lot of people experience visions. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It's up to you. My first experience with Kambo was very powerful, and I fell in love right away with the medicine. And I had dreamed about it before anyway, so I knew it was coming, but I knew it was going to be intense, and it was. I passed out. It was very serious. I was frog-faced for days. I was sort of tripping for a little while. It was intense. But my first vision was so beautiful. I suppose it was when I blacked out, and I noticed that it was this big full moon, and it was dark, but the full moon was so bright, and all the leaves and little water droplets everywhere had this beautiful silver glow, and I could see everything very clearly. And I realized that my skin felt so good. I was moist and happy, and it was warm out, but I felt cool, and a little breeze. It was beautiful, and I realized I was sitting on this enormous leaf. And then I looked around and noticed that all the leaves were enormous. I think I was experiencing life as the frog. And it's such an incredible experience to have a perspective like that, to be sitting on this leaf and looking around and seeing the world as a frog. And there was so much peace in that, and it was so beautiful. And then the practitioner dumped water in my head, and I woke up, and I felt, of course, cold and clammy like the frog. It was this phenomenal experience, and I really felt transformed and renewed from this experience. And to anyone who's ever experienced a very strong dream, that really affects you, then it is similar in a way to this. And if you have any questions about this kind of thing, just call me and reach me and let me know, and or send me a message. I don't know how YouTube does it, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I look forward very much to speaking with you, and thank you for hearing me out. And I hope that if you do decide to have an experience with such a medicine as Kambo, that you have a lot of respect for the medicine, for the experience, for your own experience, for your intention, for what you intend to follow through with after that, and for where it comes from, and to be aware that as such things are becoming more popular, especially in the US and the Western world, that we need to be really conscientious about where our sources are and what's sustainable and what's healthy for the environment, for the people, and for the frogs that are so sacred to these people, and now to us as a beautiful gift from the world. So thank you again. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me, and I'll see you soon. There you go. Get it together, dog.